Today we're going to be meeting the entrepreneur behind the viral targets, Infinite Defense, Inifinity targets. He's a 25-year-old entrepreneur that started the company 3 years ago that is on track to make over 7 figures a year. He's now selling these targets to law enforcement officers, gun hobbyists, competition shooters, and much more. We're going to tour the entire business and figure out how he's got it to where he has. So make sure you stay to the end of the video. All right, Elijah, so we're standing here and we're in the front of your Infinite Defense kind of, headquarters here. Yeah. And we're about to go back and tour the whole facility and get a good look at how you guys do what you do. But before we do that, maybe we can talk to the people about how did you actually get started making targets?
Yeah, so I was actually going to school at ASU for mechanical engineering at the time. I had a good amount of material sciences classes. I just finished playing football at GCC, so I had a lot of downtime. So I was always a recreational shooter growing up, just kind of shooting around, not much knowledge or training, just having fun. And self-healing targets were a big thing at the time. There's a similar product, Rubber Dummies. It's basically a big rubber mannequin. I believe at the time a starter kit with the proprietary stand and everything was like $500.
Wow.
And as a college student living at my dad's house, I did not have $500 to drop on a target stand, much less any firearms or ammunition.
Sure.
So I love the concept. So basically did a bunch of material testing, wanted to make something a lot more affordable, universal, that would work on the paper target stands that I already had. Didn't need any proprietary stands or hangers or anything.
Yeah.
And it kind of just went from there to my dad's garage.
Wow, that's really cool. Can you explain maybe to somebody watching that might not know the difference between, a self-healing target, which you mentioned, and just, I guess, a non-self-healing target, like a paper target? Like, what are the pros and cons of having that self-healing?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically with paper targets, you're shooting through every time. It's making a permanent hole in the paper. Obviously, it's really cheap. It's basically when you're done with that target, you throw it away, replace it.
Sure.
Another common thing with cardboard targets is you use pasties to paste over the holes, which takes a lot of time. I think the paster guns are like $80. And obviously that's a big hassle. And still at the end of the range day, you're gonna have to throw that target away.
Right.
With the self-healing targets, you can still see where you shot, except instead of having to paste over the holes or change out the target, this holes self-heal and you just spray paint over it to hide them. So you can keep using that same target over and over again.
Wow,
yeah.
That's really cool. Is it like a special type of rubber that makes this self-healing? Like, I mean, it's kind of a wild thought to think that you can shoot a bullet through a piece of rubber and then you can do it over and over and over again and it just closes up. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. It's definitely mind-blowing to people who see it for the first time. Essentially, it's like stretching out a rubber band, letting it go. It's going to go back to its original shape. We have a proprietary blend of rubbers, but it is made of recycled car tires.
Okay.
So it is a sustainable product. We have a revulcanization process and manufacturing process that all goes into it.
Wow.
To give it that high lifespan. But essentially, yeah, that's basically all it is, recycled rubber. And basically just the properties of it, like the elasticity, is what makes it do its magic.
All right, so we're out here in the shop area, and this is where all the magic happens out here,
Yeah,
huh?
absolutely.
Okay, very cool. So we have a target right here behind us.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me a little bit about like different sizes and stuff that you guys do? Like, do they all look the same? How does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have sizes that are down from 5-inch targets all the way up to 2 foot by 3 foot. Everything is custom engraved here. Basically, we get the material made at a third party to our proprietary standards. It all gets shipped here. It all gets engraved, cut, painted, boxed, and shipped out of here in Phoenix, Arizona. But we have plenty of different sizes. We do custom engravings. Obviously, we have our most popular ones, which is probably what most people have seen.
Sure.
But we have over 60 different SKUs, I believe. So anywhere from deer, coyote, gongs, bullseyes, targets, law enforcement targets, whatnot.
Dang. And then how do you actually like stand this up when you're shooting it? Is there like a big stand that this kind of sits in, or what do people do?
Yeah, so it's gonna mount on your standard paper target stands. Basically, It'll just clamp right onto your wooden uprights, and then you're good to go from there.
Okay, cool. And then do you paint these?
Yeah, so they will come painted. This one's unpainted.
Okay.
But they'll come painted white, which shows the best contrast with the rubber.
Yep.
So every time you shoot it, the paint's gonna flake off, and you get a highly visible hit marker.
Yep.
So it's actually much easier to see than paper cardboard targets as well.
So I've seen a lot of people, because I've actually shot at a couple of these targets, and maybe I can show the viewers some footage of that. But a lot of people bring a can of spray paint out into the desert with them or whatever, and once they fire off, 100 rounds or whatever, they'll paint over it, right? Is that what you recommend?
Yeah, exactly. So any spray paint, any color is going to work. Obviously, white's the easiest for us. But whenever you want to go on to the next drill or hide your hits or your range day's over, you just spray paint over it, let it dry, and you're good to go.
Dang, that's really cool. And how many rounds do you think, like, it can't be unlimited, right?
Right,
like, how many rounds could I shoot at this target before you would say, it's time to go in the trash?
So we guarantee 110 rounds of 5.56 per square inch.
Okay.
Obviously, there's many more calibers than 5.56.
Per square inch? Wow.
Yes. Typically on these size targets, we get around 7,000 rounds from our competitive shooters before it needs to be replaced. And those competitive shooters are shooting pretty tight groups, so it's usually a spot right in the middle that needs to be replaced, or there's a hole showing in the middle. But we've had recreational shooters get upwards of 10,000 rounds.
Wow.
There's no caliber limit. You can shoot it up to 50 BMG. You can shoot it with subsonic 22, buckshot, whatnot. The only things that won't work are hollow points and slugs.
Got it. Okay.
Yep.
I mean, we're talking about a major difference just in terms of price, right? Because I mean, 7,000 rounds, a paper target that size, what would you say you could shoot 100 rounds into it, 200 rounds?
Yeah, so the math that we've ran based on the same size dimension cardboard target, the USPSA style, typically at 7,000 rounds, that equates to about $170 worth of cardboard targets.
Wow.
So right off the bat, you're saving some money, but what I think is more important is the amount of time you save. It's much faster to just spray paint over your target instead of pasting over each hole or switching out targets. They're also completely water and weatherproof, so if it's a rainy day or it's super windy, you're not gonna have any issues dealing with
I didn't even think about that.
Targets getting wet or blowing away and whatnot.
Yeah, so you've been at this for about 3 years now, you were saying a little while ago, right? Give or take?
Just coming up on 3 years in April.
Which is pretty wild. So you've done a lot in the last 3 years.
Yes.
How has the marketing changed over time, and what do you do now to get so many customers coming back over and over again? Are you doing social media marketing? Is it Google marketing? Are you just going to a bunch of gun shows? Maybe all the above?
Pretty much all the above. I personally run all of our digital marketing, social media. We make most of our media in-house. We do outsource some videographers here and there. There's a lot in Arizona and they're really good. But basically it's just been a learning curve for me, seeing what works, what doesn't. Now we're getting more efficient with it, where before we were just kind of throwing money at stuff, seeing what sticks.
Sure.
But yeah, we do Facebook ads, Google ads. Just started working on SEO. We've done basically YouTube ads, hiring out a bunch of influencers to do ad spots or basically product placements in their videos.
Sure.
We do all the local gun shows. We do the big ones kind of around the country, like SHOT Show, done Soft Week stuff kind of all over. The West Coast ones are easy for us because we can drive.
Right.
But basically, wherever we can market, we try to. As far as I know, there's not any part that we're missing right now.
Sure.
But yeah, it's really getting efficient with it, trying to see what influencers actually convert, keeping your ad efficiency up there in terms of not cutting into your profit margins and whatnot.
Yeah. What would you say your number one form of marketing is, like, that blows all the other ones out of the water, if you had to pick one?
Right now, definitely email.
Okay.
I believe the return on ad spend or the return on spend is about a 10.
Wow.
We do a lot of giveaways. That's something we've been doing lately to bring in a bunch of partner companies.
Sure.
Everybody donates an item, and then basically you get an entry for putting in your name and email, and that's how we grow our email list. People love them. Everybody wins. But that's a big one we've been doing. Before that, I would say it is Facebook ads. I remember just starting, we're about 4 months in, and sales were slow. We were doing maybe like 6,000 a month.
Yeah.
I was still working out of my dad's garage or the house I was renting at the time, I can't remember. But the day the ads kicked on, it basically boosted it from like 6 grand a month to 30 grand a month.
Holy cow.
And it was like mind blowing. It's basically like an instant, just an instant conversion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to transition a little bit and talk about, how do you price out the targets? How does that look and feel? Are there, obviously, the bigger the target, the more money, I would imagine.
Right.
How did you kind of figure out all the pricing?
Still figuring out pricing. There's always stuff you can tweak. Really the most expensive part is the material. The design on it isn't too much money, so we do custom work for really no upcharge. It's really the size of the material.
Sure.
Obviously, figuring out how much on average it costs to ship, since we offer free shipping now. Obviously, you have to take into consideration your dealers and leave enough margin to sell to them so they can sell to customers. And then when you bring distributors into the equation, you have to have enough margin for all three. So basically, all those come into play, as well as your overhead, like our warehouse, our payroll, whatnot. And it was much nicer working out of the garage at my house because there was no overhead. But now that we have this, we have to take all that into equation, the machinery as well. So there's always stuff changing and there's always numbers that need to be tweaked, but like I said before, we're just learning as we go.
Sure. If I were to go on your website right now and buy one of those standard white targets that we looked at a little while ago, and you were selling direct to consumer to me, which I can do, right? What would that run me?
They retail at $139 shipped.
Okay.
Not too long ago they were $129, but we did have to pay shipping on orders under $300. So to kind of offset that, we did a price raise, but added free shipping to everything. So really the overall cost was about the same to the consumer. But that did help us out a lot with giving more margin to dealers and distributors. So everybody kind of won in that situation.
And then if I buy in bulk, do I get a discount?
Yeah, so we do, if you bought a bundle of 4, I don't know what the percentage is, but you're probably gonna save about $100.
Oh, cool.
So pretty close to a free target there. Yeah, basically with our bundles, that's the best way to save.
What is the difference between the targets? Obviously, you know, different sizes, of course, but is there particular scenarios where I would want this target versus maybe that one or that one, like if I had a rifle versus a handgun, or does it not have anything to do with that?
So really with the type of firearm, it's not going to vary too much. It will depend. Maybe you're a competition shooter, maybe you're in law enforcement, maybe you're just a recreational shooter, or maybe you're trying to sight in a new optic. This is our most popular. It's a USPSA style, and the reason we went with this was as our flagship product is basically this was the target I saw the most on YouTube, social media. It's the most common cardboard target, so that's why we went with that for our first one. Not everybody that uses this competes in the USPSA. We also have a different version for IDPA, PCSL. Basically same concept, the zones are gonna differ. It just depends on what competition you're participating in. But again, it's our most popular product. Most people that buy this from us are using it for recreational purposes. Obviously it simulates somewhat of a human torso, as firearms are mostly used for self-defense. This one is a little more family friendly. Great for warm-up drills as you have your 12 circles. So it's easy to work on trigger control, slow shooting, accurate shooting, and it does help to space your shots out so your target's gonna last even longer. As with this target, you're basically gonna be shooting dead center. And then of course we do have our half-size Infinity target. So this is great for shooters who wanna work on accuracy more, or maybe they wanna test out an Infinity target before they invest in a full-size one. But it's great because it's at less than half the price point of a full-size Infinity target. I believe the MSRP is at $54. And it's great, especially for practicing distance, since it's perfectly a 1:2 scale of our Infinity target. Basically, this at 10 yards is gonna look like the full-size one at 20 yards.
Interesting.
So you can kind of simulate long-distance shooting with it as well.
Got it, okay. And but by far, that one's your most popular?
Yes.
Yes,
Absolutely.
Very cool.
Of course, we have styles for law enforcement officers. If you're a hunter, we have deer, coyote, bullseyes, stuff specific for certain scenarios.
Got it. And you said a little while ago that people can customize like with engraving and stuff like that, or is that something you mentioned?
Yeah, so we've had departments reach out to do, usually one recently, for example, was the Department of Justice in Kentucky. They have a specific target pattern that they use for qualifications. They asked if we could replicate it on our material. So basically we were able to replicate their full-size target in our material. So they were able to leave it outside, not have to take targets down since they're weatherproof. And basically roll through their qualifications faster than using paper targets and having to switch them out between each shooter.
All right, Matt, so talk to me a little bit about what you do at Infinite Defense.
So I'm the Vice President of Sales here at the company. So I handle anything in regards to customer relations, orders, contracts, everything with the Department of Defense, the military, anything in regards to that.
How did you get into that? I mean, how did you get, in contact with people like the military or the Department of Defense or, some of these bigger accounts that you guys have?
It's reaching out, going to shows, making contacts over the last few years, asking for referrals, just any average way the sales guy will go and get it.
Is it hard to work with people like with big, entities like that, or is it somewhat maybe even more simple than working with just a normal consumer?
There's definitely some more red tape. The larger you go, the more federal you go for sure inside the government. But I wouldn't say it's hard. It's just a little more time consuming
Sure.
to get that order placed.
And what do you think, scaling will look like over the next couple of years? Like, what are some things that you have in mind that you really want to implement and do to get this thing to go from where it's at to maybe 3 or 4 or 5 times?
Yeah, so my goal is to replace paper products and all the paper products that are needed, that's not needed to shoot anymore with our recycled rubber target. Where I see ourselves in 5 years is a lot more work with the DoD, with the government. We're kind of breaking into that now in the final stages of finalizing all our contracts with them so that we have all the numbers set and approved to get out to them.
Sure.
So that's where I see us, is a lot more government contracting and basically making paper targets irrelevant.
What's the most difficult part about your job?
Is explaining to people how it works and why it works, and letting them understand that although it's a difference in price between a paper target and a rubber target, but it's more time consuming. It's less time consuming, excuse me. It's more price effective and cost effective for them to purchase it today. It's a little better for the environment in regards to recycling, rubber. But I would say the hardest part of this job is explaining to people, having them understand a brand new product on the market.
Sure, yeah, and I'm sure you guys have now come out with explainer videos and all sorts of different tutorials showing people how they actually work.
Yeah.
I was pretty blown away when I was talking to Elijah a little while ago, the fact that like the big target we were looking at out there, I think it's your most popular seller. I mean, he was saying like 7,000 rounds you could put through that thing roughly?
Yeah, our competitive shooters on our Infinity target, we'll see around the 7,000 round count when they're using mostly 9.556. Our recreational shooters, including myself, I have a target at home that has over 10,000 rounds.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah, I bring every week I go shooting, I bring it out with me.
You're never going to shoot a paper target 10,000 times.
No.
I can tell you that. Not even a fraction.
Yeah.
So who are some of the big names and big people that have used your targets in the past, if you don't mind me asking?
So you'll see them all over YouTube. Grantham's use them, his photographer or videographer, Micah Mayfield. Other big channels like 704 Tactical, Top Shot Dustin. Honestly, I could go on for a while just naming people. As well as a lot of local people. Everybody knows Travis Haley and Haley Strategic. We work closely with them. We do a lot of joint media with companies around the valley. Since Phoenix is a great area for firearm owners, there's a lot of companies out here like Unlimited Ammo as well.
Yeah.
So we all kind of talk and collaborate on media. So there's a lot of collaborations, which is great for social media today, since firearms are usually not muted, but they can't be shared. They get flagged, pages like that. So it's the best way for us to grow, and basically we all grow together. So it's an awesome opportunity.
Yeah, that's super cool. Talk to me a bit about your journey over the last 3 years. How many targets were you selling or orders, maybe in year 1 compared to year 2 and year 3? Like, how has that progressed over the years, exponentially? I'm sure it has been exponential, because now, you were saying a little while ago off camera, I mean, you do quite a few orders every month.
Yeah, I think back when we started, maybe 10 to 20 orders a week. I was still working full time doing landscape construction, so basically all the orders would get made and fulfilled while I was home from work or on the weekends. And then once I transitioned to doing this full time, basically once the ads started rolling and our marketing was starting to get dialed in, now we're doing about 400 orders a month on a slow time. Right now, since it's holiday season, we're probably doing about 800.
Which is a lot.
Yes. So we're busy back there packing up everything and shipping it out. But in terms of growth, I think our first year, from April to the end of the year, we grew fairly quickly. That's when when I bought my house, we moved into that garage. It was a bigger garage. And I think we did about 700,000 that year in revenue.
Wow.
Our first full calendar year, which was last year, we did 1.2 million. And then this year we're coming close, just short of $1 million. So we experienced kind of a, not tanking economy, but economy in downturn, which was great for us. It was a learning experience. We had to tweak a bunch of stuff, cut the fat off, make sure we weren't spending money in the wrong places.
Sure.
Stuff like that. So we're definitely prepped for a great 2025.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the future look like? I mean, where do you think you could take this thing long term? 5 years from now, 10 years from now? I mean, do you think you could be a household name for any, gun owner?
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
America?
I think we can be a giant name. Basically, all the numbers I just ran off, that was just selling direct to consumer through our website.
Sure.
Very little amount of dealers last year in the first full calendar year. So we're starting to bring on dealers. We have sales rep groups to try and get into bigger chain stores like Sportsman's, Bass Pro Shop, Shields, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And distributors as well. So we have that whole business to business side that we're just starting to work on. So we have a lot of opportunity for growth there.
Sure. 3 years ago, if you were to tell your old self that you'd be making 7 figures a year, own a 7-figure a year gross revenue company, would you have believed it?
Honestly, I might have.
Yeah.
I had a lot of faith in myself and not many other options, so kind of put everything into this.
I like that.
I am surprised when I look back on it now how fast we've grown. And basically a year ago we were in my garage, and a year before that I was in a smaller 1-car garage.
Yeah.
And, it's definitely been a crazy ride.
It'll be cool to see where you're at in 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very cool. All right, guys, so we're out here testing the Inifinity targets right now, and we're gonna go down there, we're gonna spray paint it. We've already got a couple rounds fired off into the target, and we're gonna show you, we're gonna get some really cool footage of showing you how the bullets actually go through the rubber, and you can shoot this thing a ton of times. So let's go check it out. We got quite a few rounds off in the target so far, so all we're gonna have to do is just repaint the target. I'm gonna show you right now, so I'll stand over here on this side. We're literally just gonna repaint it. Just like that. Now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna fire off some more ammo. Let's check that out. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna shoot this brand new piece, 365. I got a Halston sight on here. It's actually not bad. I'm shooting at the ID at the bottom. Hey, thank you so much for staying to the end of the video. I had a blast hanging out with Elijah with Inifinity targets. I'll put all of his information down in the description below. We also had a blast taking that target out to the desert. We shot at least probably 400 or 500 rounds through the target, and I could definitely see how over the course of time, you'll save time, money, and energy using a target like that. So definitely go check out his website, look into getting one if you like shooting guns like I do. And if you haven't already, go check out our other content on my channel. We interview a lot of really cool people, and I'm an entrepreneur myself, so we talk a lot about business. Thank you again, and we'll see you in the next video.